So it's a couple minutes after 3, so we might as well get started. But I want to start this session off just letting everyone know that this the Zoom session is being recorded and will be posted on our website for later watch. My name is Shannon Woke. I am the Research Strategy Coordinator for Campus Alberta Neuroscience, and I'm the coordinator for this competition, the Spinal Cord Injury Innovation and Translation Fellowship. So just an outline of today's meeting. Again, it's being recorded. The first 15 minutes will be about just a bit of an introduction about the purpose of today's session, as well as an outline of the competition. Then we'll get into some of the challenges that people might be experiencing due to the pandemic that might be impacting their research plans or their ability to apply for the fellowship. And then I'll open up to everyone who might have questions for myself about the competition or the application or the review process, and I can answer any of your questions. All right, so to get started, the purpose of the session today is to learn from you what are some of the challenges you're experiencing because of the pandemic that are impacting your research plan, the ability for you to do your research, and how this might be impacting your ability to apply for the competition, or how this might impact how we administer the competition. So our first question and answer session for this competition was back in May, and it was actually really helpful. We got some really good information from everyone about how at that current time there was no research really happening in labs or in the clinic. And because of that, we decided to extend the deadline of our competition to August. So now research activities have slowly been reopening, and researchers are getting back to the lab. So we're hoping that everyone now has a bit better idea of what their research plan is going to look like over the coming months, realizing that, again, things are going to continue to shift and change over time, but we're hoping at this point researchers at least have some idea of what their plan is going to look like. Because of that, with reopening of activities, I'm sure there are new challenges that people are identifying that is impacting their research, and today we want to learn what those challenges might be and how we can do our best to support our spinal cord injury community with this competition. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the objectives of the competition itself and give a bit of an overview of it. So the objectives are to support high quality personnel, so to support the spinal cord injury fellows in Alberta. We also want to support innovative and translational research, and we want to support provincial collaborations. So the funding and the term of this funding for the competition is we will be providing $25,000 in stipend support. There is a requirement for matched funding of $25,000 minimum from another funding source or partner, so that the fellow has a minimum of $50,000 in stipend support over a 1-year term. If the applicant does decide or is planning to apply for a MyTax fellowship and extending their fellow to 2 years, they can potentially use this funding to do so. So if that's the case, then we would extend the term of their funding to a 2-year term. So they can take that $50,000 and apply for a MyTax fellowship if they meet the other requirements of MyTax. Know in advance if that is what the applicant is planning to do. So there is a portion in the application form for you to let us know that you are planning to apply for MyTax. We need to know this because it might impact how we administer the funds to that particular applicant. There are 3 main requirements for this competition. So the first is a translational component. I guess the point of this requirement is we want to make sure that the researchers are incorporating a translational focus into their research plan. So this means you're acknowledging that that information needs to move along the translational spectrum. What that looks can really depend on the project itself. So if you're doing a preclinical study in animals, you might want to check in and make sure that your preclinical study design is clinically relevant by checking in with the clinical scientists and getting them to take a look at your experimental design. If your design, excuse me, is better suited towards what would happen in a clinical study, that information would more easily translate to the clinic. It might also be a clinical study that involves frontline staff or other healthcare professionals in the development of their research design, excuse me, so that they are, once that research is conducted, the results can be translated into the clinic or into the community or where it needs to go more easily. The second requirement is that it must include provincial collaborations. So that requirement of provincial collaborations is pretty common with Campus Alberta Neuroscience. In the past, we've required them to be academic collaborations, but for this funding opportunity, we've broadened what a provincial collaboration can look like. So it doesn't just have to be with another academic in a different Alberta institution. You can collaborate with non-academic partners. So if, for example, if you were looking at how a patient might be transitioning from in hospital care out to the community, you would like to, and especially if this is going from an urban to a rural center, you would like to collaborate with the healthcare center in that rural area. That's a provincial collaboration. That's outside of your municipality and would count as a provincial collaboration. You can still collaborate with an academic partner if you'd like in another Alberta institution, but we just broadened what a provincial collaboration is. Then the third requirement, again, is that match funding of $25,000 minimum in stipend support for the fellow. This has to be from, or this funding can't be from Alberta Paraplegic Foundation or Campus Alberta Neuroscience. If you have funding coming from multiple sources that are providing that $25,000 stipend support, that's okay. They just need to provide that letter of that letter in your application form stating that that funding is confirmed from all partners. The eligibility for the applicant, they must be pursuing a spinal cord injury fellowship at an Alberta academic institution. There was a question emailed in about the start date for that applicant. I'll get a little bit more into that later. But if you do have a later start date, you can still apply for this competition. You just need to confirm that you are going through the hiring process and that you will be pursuing a fellowship in Alberta. The next eligibility requirement is that the supervisor must be a member of Campus Alberta Neuroscience or a neuroscience research member. And also, finally, that the faculty supervising the applicant cannot supervise more than one recipient of this award. And the deadline for this application is August 4th at 4 p.m. So you need to have your applications in full emailed into the Alberta email by then. All right, so that's an overview of the competition. I hope that was clear. So now I want to hear from you guys, the attendees, and I want to hear about some of the challenges that you're now experiencing. So your research activities have slowly been reopening, and I'm hoping that at this point you have a bit of an idea of what your research plan is going to look like over the coming months. So that means that you should have a better idea of what to expect and any additional challenges you might be having because of the pandemic. So I see in the chat there are some comments. Okay, so there is, I guess we can get started with this, but there is a question about the Biosketch template. Is there anything specific that you would like to know about that template?
Yes. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Fernanda.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, I got late because I had some problems with the internet, but finally I got to enter. It's a very simple question, I think. I would like to know if it's possible to include new lines in the template, because you know, Dr. Aaron Phillips have a lot of information about him. he's supposed to be my supervisor on PDF, but I did not get introduce or include 10 lines of information from him at the template.
Okay. Is there any specific information that you need to add on?
Yes, let me open is on. Yes, let me see here. It is specifically on the honors, the topic 6 on honors on template, this template.
Okay, so you are looking on, so section 6 of the Biosketch, so adding in extra honors or awards. So I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So really, I think what you might want to do is pick either like the top honors that would be reflective of this competition or the most recent ones. Otherwise, yeah, they could definitely, for certain academics, it could definitely get quite long, especially the longer that somebody has been in research. So my suggestion would be to pick either the top honors that he wants to showcase or the most recent ones, whichever you would prefer to go with.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, Shannon.
But no, that is a good question, because you do want to show your supervisor or potential supervisor in the best light possible, of course.
Yes, I would take the opportunity to ask another thing about the template. That is, the guidelines ask us Biosketch from the supervisor and the course supervisor, but the template is the same. So you guys will recognize who is the supervisor or course supervisor by the name of the file, because there is no difference between the template.
So the purpose of the Biosketch is basically acting like a CV, just a bit more condensed, and allows us to look at the parts of a CV that we're most interested in. So the Biosketch would be the same for both a supervisor and a co-supervisor. But in your application itself, you do make it clear who your supervisor is and who your co-supervisor is. So that's how we will be able to, that's how we'll be able to differentiate and know who is who. Does that make sense?
The last part, no, sorry.
Okay. So in the application form, on the first page, you have to fill in who your supervisor is, and then there's a section underneath for your supervisor. So we'll use that information to understand who's your supervisor and who isn't. And then I believe the whole application itself, except for the letters of recommendation, all needs to be in a single file anyways. So all in one PDF, so they all get merged into one file. Does that help? Or does that make any sense?
Yes. Okay. Actually, I imagined that, but I was not sure about that.
Oh, okay. Then you should be good. As long as they both filled it out and you have that in your application, you should be good. And we'll be able to tell who is who from that first page. But no, those are good questions. So one of the questions that did get emailed in was about applicants who aren't currently a postdoc yet, but do have a start date that's later in 2021, and whether or not they can still apply for the competition, even though our deadline is in August. And so my answer for that is yes, you can still apply. I encourage you to apply. However, we do have that requirement, or that eligibility requirement, that they are a postdoc at an institution. So if their start date is until later, that's okay. But as long as they have that confirmation that they will be pursuing a fellowship at an academic institution, that is something that we do need so that we know that the funds will be going out. So if you have a later start date, it's okay, but just make sure you're going through that hiring process so that we can confirm that you are going to be doing a postdoc. So that was one of the questions that was emailed in. But I'm wondering if anyone, any of the attendees have any challenges that they're experiencing now that they have a bit of an idea what their research plan is going to look like, and they now might have some new problems that have popped up that might affect their ability to apply or might be affecting their research plan and timeline. So is there anything that anyone would like to share? Not hearing much. That's okay. Oh, yeah.
Shannon, sorry, it's Kelly. I apologize. I joined late, so I'm sorry if I missed this already. I was running from another meeting, but is the August 4th deadline firm now?
Yes, I think so. I mean, of course, if we get some really important information today about challenges people are experiencing, we want to be as flexible as possible, but we also want to get this competition going and get money to those that might or who do need it to conduct their research. Because activities are starting to happen, we do want to get that money out, but if we do find about some significant delays or anything like that, that is important for us to know and determine how we administer funding.
Okay. Yeah, I have heard that some of the international postdocs are still having a hard time with the travel and getting to Canada in time to start. But that would be the extent of what I've heard. And then just we don't really have firm plans for human research to start back up again.
Okay, so human research is still quite, I know that oh, sorry?
Yeah, clinical research at University of Calgary anyways is still tabled for now unless it's considered like an exemplary circumstance or COVID-related research.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you know, like, I'm pretty sure the U of A labs have started to reopen. I know that they've had to go through a lot more processing of new training and applying to be in the lab and confirmation that they've gone through extra training and doing their due diligence. Do you know if at the U of C, if those research activities are starting to resume?
Yeah, I know that they're making plans, but they haven't let us know what that plan is going to look like. So no, the short answer is no, unless you've applied for critical research designation.
Okay, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the animal facilities are back up and running and people are getting exemptions, but the plan for clinical human research is not in place yet.
Okay, so animal research is slowly making its way, or people are slowly making their way back to the lab. Like I can imagine there's a lot of people submitting to get back to the lab and all the training that goes with it takes time. And there's, it's everyone at once. I didn't realize though that the human research was still tabled, but I suppose that makes a bit of sense, even though things are reopening. Still an issue, obviously. So that is actually helpful to know. And for the international students, yeah, this is something that is definitely a challenge. I think that's where that question about a later start date in 2021 came from. So there are definitely travel restrictions, and that is really causing havoc for postdocs who are looking to go out of country or come to Canada and do a postdoc. Yeah, we are trying to be flexible with things like start dates, as we know that, yeah, like people can't necessarily come here at this time. So if you are starting at a later time point, that's okay. If you've gone through like the whole interview process, you've confirmed your supervisor, and you're in the process, I hope, of getting hired, still apply. Still recommend that you apply. Yeah. hope that, does that help clarify anything around the international trainees?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Does anyone have any other issues about some of the restrictions that we have, or not, sorry, restrictions, the requirements that we have on this application? So is anyone having any issues finding a matched partner because of the pandemic and being able to secure resources? Or are there any complications with finding a provincial collaborator because of COVID-19? Is anyone experiencing any challenges with that around those areas? No, if you have any questions, you can also just shoot them in the chat. If you don't want to unmute yourself, that's fine. You can always just shoot them to me through the chat. Does anyone have any questions in general about the competition itself? Or any questions about the review process or the application form? Not hearing anything, so that's okay. I'm hoping then that everything is fairly clear now. If we do make any decisions about the competition, any major decisions, we're going to send an email out through our CAN newsletter email list early next week, so likely Monday or Tuesday. If we don't make any major changes, what we're going to do is provide a summary in our summer newsletter, which should be going out sometime next week. As well as we will post any changes on our social media accounts, so either our Twitter and our Facebook. But yeah, if nobody has any other questions or any comments that they'd like to anything that they would like to discuss, I think we can wrap up. I want to thank you for your time and for everyone's questions and input. Those that emailed in questions is great. Yeah, no, the first session was extremely helpful for us in determining whether or not we needed to extend the deadline. We did get some new information, or well, that information that the human research is still being delayed. So we will have to talk about that and figure out how we're going to move forward with the competition. But if there are any major changes, we will announce those through our communication methods early next week. If not, feel free to email me your questions in the meantime at swowk@ualberta.ca, or you can email them to our general CAN email, abneuro@ucalgary.ca. I'll be happy to answer them. I should make a note that I will be going on holidays towards the end of July. So the sooner you ask your questions, the better, the faster you'll get a response. Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone again for their time, and we really value the fact that people are willing to share their experiences and challenges with us, as it really helps us know how to better support our community. So thank you, and everyone have a good rest of your afternoon. Bye.